Oh, there's so many yummy vegetarian options out there. You could try like lentil soup, veggie burgers, tofu stir fry. The possibilities are endless. Hello, and a very warm welcome to all of you, the students of Europe Hotel School. I'm an AI expert specializing in modern hotel operations, and it's a real pleasure to be here with you today. Think of me as your guide for this part of your online learning journey. We're about to dive into something absolutely critical for running a profitable hotel. Let's get you ready for a successful career in this amazing industry. All right, so here's our game plan for today. You can think of this as your strategic playbook. First up, we're going to talk about a decision so critical you have to make it before you even think about opening your doors. Then we'll break down what I call the 4 pillars of distribution. These are your pathways to revenue. After that, we'll get our hands dirty with the numbers and figure out the true cost of getting a booking. From there, we'll see how to keep your strategy dynamic and alive, not static. And we'll finish up by locking in that commercial cornerstone that's going to set you up for long-term success. So let's jump right in. Imagine you're about to open a brand new hotel. You're faced with this huge puzzle, right? How in the world do you get noticed by millions of potential guests, but without completely blowing your budget? That's the tightrope walk, this balancing act between getting seen, that's your reach, and what it costs to get seen. Well, that's the absolute heart of your strategy from the moment you start. And that brings us to the core concept, your channel strategy. Really, it's just a fancy term for figuring out the perfect mix. On one hand, you've got reach. How many eyeballs can a channel get on your property? But on the other hand, you've got the cost of distribution. The commissions, the fees. The name of the game isn't just to get heads in beds, as they say. Nope, it's about filling those rooms in the smartest, most profitable way you possibly can. So why does this matter so much? What's the big deal? Well, it's because everything we're talking about today funnels down to one single, all-important number. RevPAR, revenue per available room. You're going to hear that acronym a lot in your career. Honestly, it's like the ultimate report card for a hotel's financial performance. And a killer channel strategy? That's how you get a straight-A report card. Okay, so how do we actually do this? Where do the bookings come from? Well, it pretty much boils down to 4 main avenues, or as I like to call them, the 4 pillars of distribution. These are your revenue pathways. Let's take a look at each one. Now, this chart here, this is basically your entire distribution toolkit laid out in one place. Over on one side, you've got your direct channels. Think your own website, people calling in, or just walking through the door. These are your golden goose, the most profitable bookings you can get. Then, way over on the other side, you've got the big guns, the OTAs, the online travel agencies. They give you incredible global reach, but, and this is a big but, they come at the highest cost. And then filling out the middle, you have the GDS, the Global Distribution System, your link to corporate travel, and your wholesale partners who are great for locking in business, especially when things are a little slow. So, knowing these 4 pillars exist, that's step 1. That's the easy part. But to really get ahead, you have to understand the financial hit each one makes. That, my friends, is the next level. This is where a sharp commercial leader really proves their worth, by digging deep into the actual cost of every single reservation. And this bar chart, wow, it really tells the story, doesn't it? Just look at the difference. That small green bar, that's a direct booking. Almost pure profit. GDS has a bit more cost. But then look at that giant bar for the OTAs. That is a huge chunk of your revenue just gone. As a future leader, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to constantly find ways to move business from that expensive channel over to the profitable ones. Let's put some real numbers on this so it sinks in. We're talking about commissions in the range of 15% to as high as 30% for OTAs. Think about that. For every 100 euros of revenue you bring in, you could be handing 30 of them right back. It's a lot. And that's why, even though OTAs are absolutely essential partners, especially when you're new, you just can't afford to become totally dependent on them. But wait, there's a twist. There's actually a really interesting silver lining to that high cost. It's a phenomenon we call the billboard effect. Here's how it works. You can almost think of that high OTA commission as a marketing expense. Because for a hotel that's just starting out, getting listed on a massive site, that's like putting up a giant free billboard for millions and millions of travelers who otherwise would have no idea you even exist. Now that exposure is incredibly powerful. You can't deny it. But it brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How do you take someone who just saw you on that digital billboard and convince them to become a profitable guest? By booking directly on your site. This is the playbook. This is the ideal journey you want every guest to take. Step 1, they discover you on an OTA. Step 2, they're interested. So what do? They pop open a new browser tab and Google your hotel's name directly. They're hunting for a better deal, more photos, more info. And step 3, this is the magic moment. They land on your website and find it because you've been smart enough to offer them better value. Maybe it's a slightly better rate, maybe it's free breakfast, whatever it is, boom. You've just captured a high-margin booking and saved yourself a ton on commission. And that brings me to a really, really important point. Your channel strategy is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. Not at all. It has to be dynamic. Think of it like a living, breathing thing that you are constantly tweaking and adjusting based on demand, seasonality, and what the market is doing. This comparison here shows that evolution in action. Look, when you're in that initial ramp-up phase, your goal is really simple. You need occupancy, you need people in the rooms, and you need them leaving good reviews. So yeah, you open the floodgates and let the OTAs bring you the business. But then, once you're established, the game changes. Your goal shifts from just occupancy to actual profitability. And that's when you start to strategically close those floodgates a little. You hold back some of your best rooms for your direct bookers and corporate clients, because that's where the real money is. All right, let's wrap this all up. A well-thought-out channel strategy, look, it's not just another item on a manager's checklist. It is the absolute commercial cornerstone of a successful hotel. If you get this piece right, you're not just building for next month. You're building a profitable, sustainable business for years to come. I love this quote because it just nails the whole philosophy. It's a systematic approach. That means it's not guesswork. It's about balancing reach, getting out there, against the measurable cost of acquisition. In other words, you always know what you're paying to get a guest, and you're always trying to pay less. So if you remember nothing else, remember these 5 things for your career. 1, always analyze the net revenue of a channel, not the top-line number. 2, use OTAs as your billboard to get discovered, but don't let them become a crutch you can't live without. 3, you have to incentivize direct bookings. Give people a reason to come to your site. 4, your inventory is not static. You have to manage it dynamically, day by day. And 5, and this is a big one, protect your rate integrity. Don't let your private wholesale rates leak out onto public sites and destroy your pricing power. So, I'm going to leave you with one final question to think about as you move forward. Picture this. You've done it. You've launched a beautiful new hotel. You've made it through the chaos of the first 90 days. Now, as the commercial leader, what's the very first channel you're going to focus on optimizing? And more importantly, why? How you answer that question, well, that's going to determine your hotel's entire path to profitability.